speaking of LeBron, I know he kind of came out with a post around the Mikko Rantanen thing, and he's like, "There's a difference between what I'm hearing and what I'm thinking. My opinion, my thoughts. If I were the Carolina Hurricanes, what I would do." It's another week, and I know we asked you about it last week. We feel like we'll probably ask you about it every week, until it's done. But any more clarity on your end as to whether it's he's going to sign, he's going to be dealt again, or they will just hang on to him and then worry about it when the time comes?
Well, first of all, I kind of chirped Pierre after that post because when I went to insider school, which, Bob McKenzie was the dean.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bob father is the pioneer. He blazed the trail for all hockey insiders. He once said to me in the early days, Dregs, it's not what you think, it's what you know, right? As insiders. So I chirped LeBron a little bit about that. So you don't think that the Carolina Hurricanes should trade this piece. And I get it. So here's what we know. What we know is that Eric Tulsky, the general manager, is at least having trade conversations with teams around the NHL involving Mikko Rantanen. Doesn't mean that that's a decision that the organization is going to make. They may very well do exactly what Pierre LeBrun thinks they should do, and that's just sit tight and see if this guy can help them go deep into the playoffs, or better yet, win that Stanley Cup. And what I know is likely to happen in the next day or two is that Andy Scott, who represents Mikko Rantanen, is going to tell the brass of the Carolina Hurricanes, we're not making a decision on an extension before next Friday. So if you want to further engage in trade negotiations, well, that's up to you. If you want to trade Mikko, go ahead. If you want to include us and the potential of a sign-in trade so that maybe you get a little bit more and the player gets that 8th year, we're willing to do that too. If you want to blow off the deadline and again, just use them as an own rental, that's fine. No guarantee that Mikko is going to say see ya to the Carolina Hurricanes at the end of the year. Maybe by buying a little bit more time, he has a change of heart, or he's more comfortable in that environment and he does extend. So those are all scenarios that are still in play, but you cannot dismiss the possibility to trade, and we can't and won't until they either come out and say they're not trading him or the deadline bell rings at 3:00 Eastern on Friday.
Well, and the thing I keep thinking about is that he gets traded. He's got 2 weeks there. Everything's new teammates. Yeah. He's hitting posts. Nothing's going in for him. And now the pressure gets ramped up because the counting stats aren't there. Not that he's playing bad necessarily, but the counting stats aren't there. Then he's at Four Nations for 2 weeks. He's away from the team. He's not in Raleigh. Yeah. He's in Montreal. He's in Boston. He's hanging with his Finnish pals. And then he comes back to this trade fervor, and he is in a spotlight of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, he hasn't really settled in. Like, does he even know where his grocery store is, where he wants to live? Like, does he have a significant other that has a group of people to hang with? Like, he's so new there. They make this deal early and you're like, oh, this is great. But he really hasn't had much time there.
No. And you know what? All of the above matters. It really does. And especially with a player like that who knows that he's going to have a top market when free agency comes around in July. He knows that, right? Because even though there's been some struggle, he was better in the last game, no doubt about that. But there has been some struggle. And as it was explained to me by someone close, it's almost like you do go through phases. And this is phase one for a player of that magnitude who is blindsided more or less by trade. And I know people don't believe that, but that's the truth. He thought that there'd be way more negotiating with the Colorado Avalanche. He thought that he'd be able to at least submit the idea of the discount and what that looks like in a number. And it never got to that stage, right? So he didn't think that this season was going to unfold the way that he has. So there are growing pains, and all of those things that are just lifestyle creature comforts, they can take a toll. But it does feel like, guys, that he's coming out of that a little bit, which, again, helps me revisit what I just said. I do expect that Andy Scott, who represents Rantanen, is going to say to Eric Tulsky or Tom Dundon, he's not going to make his call before next week. So we respect what you guys have to do, and he'll play hard for you as long as you want him to play. But there's no guarantee that he's going to stay long term.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.